going on, everybody? Welcome into the Bulls Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we have the latest trade rumors on Nikola Vucevic, Zach LaVine, and Patrick Williams. A lot of reports have came out over the last couple of weeks, so I consolidated all of them and got you guys the latest around your Chicago Bulls. But with the trade deadline about 2 weeks away right now, I got to ask you guys this. Will the Bulls make a trade at this year's deadline? I'm going to probably have to say no if we look at the track record of this Bulls front office, but there's a lot of smoke out there on the Bulls making a deal. So you guys be honest with me, predict the future. Will the Bulls make a trade at this year's deadline? All right, this is coming in from Shams Charania, #1 NBA insider, saying sources said the Bulls have been receiving calls from teams on two key players, Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. Rival executives have applauded a rejuvenated season from LaVine, who in his 11th season is shooting a career-high overall 51.4% and on threes 45% while averaging 24, 5, and 4.5. LaVine has impressed the Bulls with his professionalism and leadership a year after Bulls size scanned the market for trade opportunities. Now, Vucevic, meanwhile, has also had a strong campaign, averaging 20.3 points, 10.4 rebounds, and 3.4 assists. The Warriors are among teams expressing interest in the 6'10" center at 34. Vucevic has shown he can age gracefully. He is shooting 55.4% from the field and 41.1% from three this season. So, how I'm reading this, and if I had to give a prediction on how the Bulls will handle the NBA trade deadline, is that they will trade Nikola Vucevic most likely to the Golden State Warriors, but keep Zach LaVine on their roster. I just think it's hard to facilitate a Zach LaVine trade, and plus I'm sure the Bulls front office is thinking, he's playing at a high level. If we can move off guys like Kobe White, Vooch, Patrick Williams, which we'll talk about on today's show, maybe they could build around Zach LaVine, have him help this kind of quick rebuild and youth movement. But the biggest reason why LaVine, I don't think will get traded is just because of his contract. Number one, if you're a contending team, it's tough to aggregate contracts to get to this number of $43 million. And plus, he would be on the books for $46 and almost $50 million the next two seasons. And why the Bulls wouldn't make this deal, this 15% trade kicker. We know how cheap Jerry Reinsdorf is. Would he be willing to pay 15% of these upcoming next two salaries over the next 2 years? I really doubt it. But in terms of LaVine and Vooch, what they've done on the floor this season, I will give the Bulls credit. I was saying there is no excuse for these two to be on the roster heading into the season just because I thought they could tank their trade value during the year if they play bad, but it went the opposite direction. I think the move of getting Josh Giddey in there, a very, player-friendly point guard who gets these guys open shots like LaVine, like Vooch, he is the perfect, I'm going to up your trade value point guard. But these two, if you just look at the raw numbers, these guys are ridiculous. But, the biggest gripe I have with them, they don't really play defense. They're not the most team-friendly basketball players. They're kind of just, I'm going to do me, and I'm going to let everybody else figure it out. But let's start off with some Zach LaVine trade destinations here. So, number one, I have been saying this for a while if you guys have been watching the channel. The San Antonio Spurs. I am sure they would like to take advantage of Wemby still on his rookie deal, get him some playoff experience. So I could really see San Antonio possibly swinging a trade for number 8. And then also the Milwaukee Bucks. If they miss out on a Bradley Beal or a Jimmy Butler, they want to get a third star in there next to Dame and Giannis. I think the time of Middleton and Milwaukee is just about up. So watch out for them trading for LaVine. And then the Detroit Pistons. If I had to power rank these, I would probably say number 1 Spurs and then number 2 Pistons because they have had an awesome season. They want to get more talent next to, Cade Cunningham, see if they can make a run and just get, their young players on that roster some playoff experience. And then still the Warriors. I think they might be able to take advantage of Steph Curry still playing very high-level basketball at the tail end of his career and get more talent around him. Zach LaVine would be the, one of the top guys. But in terms of Vooch here, I think the Warriors are the most likely option. We've talked about this a lot. They would want a guy who, can really play well in that read and react offense that Golden State has. But then the Mavericks, they just lost Derek Lively for the next 2 to 3 months, so maybe they could be swinging in the center market. Then same thing with the Spurs, get more talent around Wembanyama. And plus, I think the combination of Vooch and Wemby would make a killer front court. Vooch more offensive-minded, Wemby the best defensive player I have ever seen. playing the NBA. And then the Lakers, they have been in the center market. I think they're probably going to lean Valanciunas. But the Grizzlies also, I think they would have expected more from Zach Edey this past season, but I could easily see them, possibly wanting to swing a trade for Vooch at this year's deadline. But let me ask you guys this. If you guys had to pick one player of the trade off the Chicago Bulls, give me an 8 for Zach LaVine or give me a 9 for Nikola Vucevic. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. I'll make this the pinned comment on today's show. So take a second, go down there and answer today's pinned comment. Now we'll talk about Patrick Williams and if he will be traded coming up here in just a second. But first off, got to give a massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Now, if you guys download the Prize Picks app today and plug in promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today, use that promo code CLNS, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, what is Prize Picks? It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. And with the Bulls in the Bay Area tonight taking on the Warriors, producer Tex actually cooked up a heater of a lineup for you guys where we're going to roll with the more on Ayo Dosunmu, his 13.5 points. And then also we're going to take the more on Vooch points and rebounds at 31.5. And then Steph Curry, I think, will have more than 12.5 rebounds and assists. But hey, if you guys want to fade that lineup or ride with that lineup, we just ask you guys do so at Prize Picks. If you guys download the Prize Picks app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use that promo code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. But massive shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, so we got a new report from our good old friend Joe Cali talking about Patrick Williams and him potentially be traded. Well, turns out the Bulls are actually calling teams on a Patrick Williams trade. And when I heard this, I thought about his contract. The Bulls signed this guy to a 5-year, $90 million deal. And his contract's very, very simple. It's just $18 million up until the 2028-29 season. And it's so funny with the Bulls that from what they've seen in his first 4 years of an NBA career, well, they thought he was good enough to get this contract. But then just out of a half a season of this year, we're like, hey, we're just going to cut bait with him. We're going to trade him. I don't understand that thought process from the Bulls front office, considering this guy is also only 23 years old still. He still has a chance to develop. And, my take on Patrick Williams, listen, I am almost done with the Patrick Williams experiment. But I will say this, the Bulls did him no favors. Like, he just came into the league, with LaVine, with DeRozan, with Vooch, and just said, hey, you go stand in the corner. You really will never have the ball in your hands offensively. You'll never be the primary creator, even the secondary, tertiary, creator offensively. So, I'm kind of done with this experiment. He plays too passive, especially on the offensive side of the floor, but it's not like the Bulls set him up to success. And I guess I will say the concerning part here is that, his numbers have taken – are not really taking a hit. They just kind of stayed the same since his rookie season, which is, very concerning. And especially this past year, without, DeMar DeRozan, taking up most of these shots. Like, I would expect him to have a better offensive output. And a big reason why he has not put up a good numbers is he's shooting the ball 38.1% from the field, decent from behind the arc, but we really haven't seen, too much development. And in terms of a trade, I have no idea what he would go for. Could he go for a first-round pick? Could he go for 2 seconds? I would hope the Bulls could still land, a first-round pick for a guy who is a 4th pick overall, a great 3-and-D player in the NBA. But I just still really have no idea what type of, capital the Bulls could get back in a Patrick Williams trade. But if you can't get an offer that's going to completely blow you away, I just say you stay with them, kind of ride this out, and then hopefully once LaVine and Vooch are eventually off this roster, then maybe you'll see some bigger, steps in his development. But again, I have no idea what he would go for. But that's going to wrap it up on today's show. If you guys made it to the end, watch this whole thing. This will be a real one roll call. Give me a C red down below in the comment section. Would really appreciate to see where all the real ones are at. But we'll see you guys next time. As always, go Bulls.